in summer.
Okay.
And when you jet ski, like the person that you have on the jet ski affects the speed. So like somebody small like me, like if you got on the jet ski and you got one flat out and then you laid down on the jet ski, I could go 63. But like my dad, who weighs like 215, like he could only go like 57 because he weighs more. So.
Yeah, and I've seen that when I've gotten like 3 or 4 people on there. We can only go like 25 or 26, and then one time we forgot to put the plug in, and it filled up a third of the way of the boat. Then we finally got the plug in. You know, we thought we had run the bilge pump and thought we were good because all the visible water was gone. No, the boat went like 14 because we were dragging some stuff. It took like 8 minutes for it to drain after we took it out of the water. We had it on a slope. It was awesome. Yeah, see, I jet ski a lot too. Problem is when you fall off the jet ski, getting back on it in the water is problematic. It's tough.
Yeah, they make the jet skis with the little ladders that you can fold up on the back end.
Yeah, I need one of those ladders and like a winch. Like a cherry picker to kind of pull, plop me back on it. Okay. I was going to make this a quiz, but we already wasted that time. So tell me, remind me, why did we have to use this dispatch async last time? What's the purpose of that guy?
I think somebody was going to fail the quiz answer it.
Anybody who's in 350 today should be pretty up on asynchronous communication. Go ahead.
Is that how we got to the main thread?
It's how we, yes, it's how we ultimately got back onto the main thread rather than running on a secondary thread. So what does dispatch async do? What is this guy's purpose?
It shows something is happening while something is happening.
It allows something to happen while something else is. And dispatch async, this is our function that allows us to grab onto one of the running threads. So the guy we were working with last time, dispatch underscore get underscore, was it main queue?
Yeah.
So this was the main thread. So we're saying dispatch some dude up here in the, at the Grand Central Station is the Apple version of this. I need you to give me access to the main queue, which is effectively the queue that the main thread feeds off of. All right? And why? Because I want to do something on that thread. Okay? So we were seeing last time that we were getting our message immediately sent, correct? We saw the message immediately popping up last time on the phone. Out here on the out here in code, but we were not seeing the label update because that update happens on the main thread, and the main thread was not getting scheduled often enough for us. So that's why we saw there was a delay, and it took us printing it out to the screen and seeing the delay between seeing the communication showing up and seeing the thing showing up in the label to see that there was something wrong there. Watch was talking to the phone quickly, but the phone wasn't updating the label quickly. All right. So, and if I remember correctly, right at the end, did we do this inside of? We were messing with the replies here. This was the context, so a couple different things we can send. What was the difference between updating the context with a message and sending a message? What was the difference there? So here is did receive application context.
Context and something back message just kind of, I don't care about it.
Well, here's the context. Do we have a reply ability here? So here is did receive application context. Just receives a string, well, receives an any object that we could do something with. here is did receive message. This guy receives what? What's the difference between what the context receives and what the message receives? You got to put together what we've seen in the last two classes. What kind of animal is this guy right there? We have it surrounded by the square brackets. Cat, dog, dictionary, string. It's a dictionary. All right, so this guy's a dictionary. What kind of animal is that guy? It's not a trick question. Is that also a dictionary? Okay, dictionary. So both of these guys can receive more than one value in the form of a dictionary, correct? All right. Now, here in did receive application context, the only thing we can do is receive a value. What can we do here in did receive message? Well, we can receive multiple values in both because a dictionary allows us to receive multiple values. But did receive message comes with a closure for a reply handler. It gives us a function we can use to send something back to the sender. Does that make sense? What's the difference, do you think, between context and the normal did receive message? So here's the normal did receive message. This guy takes in actually, I want to see if I want to show order of operation. No, let's just leave it alone. All right, so there's two versions of did receive message. One of them that gives us the ability to reply through the reply handler. The other one that doesn't. So wouldn't you say that this version of did receive message, and let me just move this guy down so we see him right next to him. And this version of did receive and this version of did receive message, and this version of did receive application context. When you say these guys essentially do the exact same thing, they both take in a session. They both take in an array, or I'm sorry, a dictionary of string name value pairs. This guy is sent as an application context. This guy is sent as a single dictionary for a message. What's the difference between those? Why would they both exist? I'm going to test something here. So we're going to go mess with the phone since we already know we can receive these messages over here, right? Mess with the watch, rather, for how it sends these messages. So we're going to have it send a couple of different messages. We're going to forget about updating labels or anything like that for right now. And what we're going to do is, in this did receive message, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say did receive message backslash this guy, and we're going to say message at bucket blah. Let's actually say blah 1. Hopefully you'll see what I mean here in a second. All right, so this guy's going to try to print out the message at bucket blah 1, and this is in did receive message. And I'm going to steal this line. And we're going to go into the context deal here, and we'll forget about the label for right now. All right, and we'll have the context go ahead and send message at blah, or print message at blah 1 as well. Except this guy is not called message, it's called application context. As far as we can tell at this point, it's just a different variable name, right? They seem to hold the exact same kind of crap. Okay, so we'll go ahead and change that variable name there. What's this? Nope. Nope. You were wrong. Works fine as is. How's the back, by the way?
It's fine.
Really?
Oh wait, yeah. Hey, now what you said this morning. You told us you were dead.
You look like it.
Told us
You
you were
almost
still on the concrete floor.
He helped me swap out the motors on the boat, and those motors are heavy.
Yeah.
And the initial lifting of the old motor, he took the brunt of the weight and got kind of under it, and then was doing some weird hip motions. And then he was lightheaded for like a half hour.
Is that the first physical activity you've done in a while?
Abe is actually really strong. You'd be surprised. He seems kind of lanky and stuff, but he's pretty strong.
He's got how many brothers? 6. I mean, that's competition.
It's like competition. Once he gets a couple more years on him, then he'll go pudgy again, right? All right. So we're going to receive 2 different kinds of messages here, and just for the sake of argument, just so we don't confuse stuff, I'm going to go ahead and just comment out the reply handler one. I just want to focus just on. Okay, we're just going to focus on these 2 guys right here. One of them is the application context changed. All right. The other one is sending a direct message. Okay. So when we send a direct message, we can send blah one. So here, let's just do this multiple times. So let's do the message first. Then we'll play with the context. So this is on the phone side of things. So this should print out to the screen, but only when we actually run the phone app in Xcode, right? So let's go update the watch app, run the watch app, kill the watch app, then run the phone app and manually launch the watch app. Because we don't need to see what's happening on the watch app. We just need to see the watch app just needs to be able to do the new thing we want it to do. All right, so right now the phone does what we want it to do. It knows how to receive context updates and print it out. And actually, I want to see, did receive context. So we can tell them apart. One of them would be called message. One of them would be called context. Okay, so this guy knows how to receive a context update and print it out, specifically printing out the value it found in blah one in the dictionary. This guy knows how to print out a message and print it out, specifically the value of blah one found in the dictionary. Okay, so we're going to do the message one first. So let's go back into the watch. And if you remember last time we... this was where we're sending our message, and this was the application context guy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and create a global variable here that I'm going to use to keep track of a counter. So var count is equal to 1. Okay, and I'm going to use that counting variable down here, and then upgrade it. So whenever we get into this segue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the message, and the message I'm going to send is blah. Oh, well, the message I'm going to send is going to be this string. The string blah self.count. So it'll be blah 1 the first time, blah 2 the second time, blah 3 the third time, so on and so forth. Okay, and we're actually not getting the reply handler stuff here, so let me not forget to update count. So we're going to say self.count plus plus. And let's see, was there a different send message? Is there one without a reply handler? Nope, there's not. So we always get the reply handler, we just may not actually get a reply. So the first time we're going to send the message, we're going to say blah, and let's actually just send the value count in here. All right, so the first time it's going to send a 1, then it's going to send a 2, then it's going to send a 3, but it'll send the message blah 1 is 1, blah 2 is 2, blah 3 is 3 each time I hit this button right now, right? But what is my dude here doing? he's always receiving a message and printing out whatever blah 1 is. So if I call it 3 times, I push my button on the watch 3 times, it's going to send blah 1 as 1 the first time. This will work. Blah 2 is 2 the second time. This guy's not going to find a blah 2 because he's looking for blah 1. Make sense? So this guy's always looking for the same message, the blah 1 message. Similarly, we're doing that up here, but don't worry about that for right now. Okay, where was I? All right, so every single time I hit that button, we're going to deal with the segue for that button, and we're going to send a message based on the current count, then increment count. So I will not send the same message twice. But the other guy is always looking for the same message. Make sense? All right, so let's go ahead and run the watch side of this first, just so we get the watch updated. This may not actually be necessary. I think it installs on the watch anyways, but I know this will work. Okay, now let's go ahead and just kill this. And let's run the other target. We want to run the iPhone app this time. Okay, and then we'll manually launch the watch. And the reason we're running the iPhone app is that way we get the console here. So we can see, this guy will link to the iPhone app instead of the watch. So there's our iPhone app empty right now, and actually, he's not going to change. So let's get our simulator going here. Oop, oop, oop.
Time travel.
How do I... Hardware... Is this my app? All right, so here's did receive message optional 1 down here. So I'll hit back. Did receive message nil. Could not find a blah 1, the second message, because I didn't send it a blah 1. I sent it a blah 2, correct? All right, so now let's update this. We're going to now, instead of sending a message, we're going to try to update the context, and I'm actually going to steal this guy. We'll do it right before the count. We'll no longer send the message. Let's just multi-line comment this out. Okay, and the message we're going to send is this one. Okay, so now we're going to update the application context, sending it blah 1, blah 2, blah 3, as well as the corresponding count. All right, and the phone should already be set up to handle this. So let's go ahead and run the phone app. And then we'll kill it. I'm sorry, run the watch app and then the phone app. All right, so now we'll run the phone app and then manually launch the watch app. And hopefully this does what I think it might do. First time, we get a did receive context optional 1. Oh, gotta go back. Oh, it didn't do what I expected. Expected the context to persist, that it was a global dictionary that wouldn't change. Okay, so then we're back to my original question, is what is the difference between a context and a message that has no reply?
I guess it's just that the reply handler is nil in the second one.
Well,
Like, that's all
you
I-
cannot update the context and ever expect a reply. You
Right.
can send a message and potentially expect a reply. This dude here doesn't have to reply, but he's compatible with reply. So is the difference that if you want to receive a message, because just to do this here real quick, we can do this exact same thing. Actually, let's do this one with the dispatch handler. So we'll see it calls both of these, and we've seen this before. It'll call both did receive message with the reply handler as well as the normal did receive message. Both of these guys will get flagged on a message being sent. This first one, we're going to go ahead and use the main queue to set the label to whatever was sent, and this guy is going to be, we'll just always do blah one there, that's fine. And then we'll print out received message, and then we're going to go ahead and give him a reply. And that's going to come out here. We won't see the reply on this side. We'd have to see it on the other side. But let's... So notice that that reply handler is actually a function. This guy is a closure right here. So this is a function, name reply handler, that takes as a parameter a dictionary. So I'm passing this guy this dictionary. The dictionary that has a single key in it, the reply, with a single corresponding value, woot. Make sense?
You can't have a single key with multiple values. Right?
Not a single key with multiple values. We'd have multiple keys with each having one value.
Right.
Correct. What would you, in what world? Well, actually, hold on. Yes, you can. You can do with what you said. How would you do it? Answer your own question. Can you have a single key with multiple values?
You have a key that brings up a dictionary instead of a string.
Or an array, right? Yep. So the key is always a string. 100% of the time in a dictionary, the key is a string. But notice here that our dictionary is something whose key is a string and whose value is in any object. So that can be, it can be an array, it could be another dictionary, it could be whatever. Anything that's an object can be associated with a key. Make sense? But directly, I think initially you were thinking, can we have the blah one key associated with two separate individual values? Can we have that key in there twice? So the answer is no, but let's assume the answer was yes. How would you use that?
Just the way you stated it, a single name with a single value.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way you phrased it.
Okay. Yeah, so the single value can mean a lot of stuff, is the punchline. The single value can be in any object, which is anything that is an object. It could be a string, although it can't be an int, because an int is not an object. It can be an capital I int in Swift, which is actually kind of how ints are represented, but it can't be a lowercase int, which is a primitive type, because that's not an object. So you'd have to wrap your int inside of an int object or an int32 object or something like that. Okay, so let's see. We're going to show again that this guy and this guy both get called when a message is sent. Okay, so we can choose, and this is going to actually add another question for us about which implementation model do we use. So let's just go ahead and prove it gets sent. So we'll do that. And then we'll go ahead and we only actually need to do the label thing inside of our main queue, right? We've seen that text-based stuff can happen right here. No harm, no foul. And actually, this is happening in the background anyways. So this guy does non-blocking communication. So we'll connect this to the 350 from earlier today. Okay, so by dispatching an asynchronous communication right here, this guy goes into the background and says, I'm going to go onto the main thread and I'll set the label for you. I'll take care of it. Meaning that we can immediately go to this line right here. We don't have to wait. So we're going to say received message with reply handler in here. It will be interesting to see which order these happen in. In fact, just so we don't have any sort of delay related to talking to dispatch, let's print that out immediately. I'm interested in which happens first. Do we receive message with reply handler first, or do we see did receive message first?
So
Which of these two will happen first?
apparently, context will just send the context to the phone and wait till the phone application awakes itself, and then it'll receive it. Whereas send message will wake up the application, so we'll get it instantly receive.
Okay. So send message
Immediately
brings the
wakes up
application alive.
Right.
Okay, so that means we.
Context just kind of like hangs until it like waits until the
Okay, well, so we should be able to test that. And we'll test that here in a second. So that means I should have I should be able to have the application closed when sending a message, and the application should launch. Is based on what you read.
That's what essentially they're saying. It should,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
My
we'll
message should do that.
we'll give it the old college try. All right. So here, let me move the two message things up next to each other again. All right. That actually would be helpful because sometimes you want to make the application aware of something for the next time it launches. But what if you send the context twice before the next time it launches? Does it receive both? We'll have to test that. Okay. So in any case, we have our big boy did receive message, the one with the reply handler. And then we have the special kid version of our did receive message that doesn't know how to handle reply stuff. Okay? And we want to see which of these two happens first, because there's going to be an order. I assume it's probably going to be consistent, but both of them will happen. So the very first thing either of these guys do is print. This guy up here will go ahead and dispatch to update the label, just because that's how labels need to get updated immediately. And then finally, we'll go ahead and do the reply handler deal here, but we won't even work with the reply handler at this exact moment. So let's go down here to our main screen, and let's see, this guy's doing the update context, so we'll get rid of that. Now we will, well, I guess we can. Here, we'll go ahead and just print it. It'll print locally on the watch. So we'll have to have that guy on the context, so we'll see. All right, so we're going to go ahead and run the watch first. Okay, and we'll hit the button, and we should see the reply come in, but let's see if it launches the phone app. Let's see if it does what we think it should do. All right, so we want to be on the watch. That guy. Go ahead and launch this. Ruh-roh. Oh, that was an old, it crashed because of the previous one that was running. All right, so we'll go ahead and, does the watch, or does the phone app always launch? Yeah, but I thought it would like unlaunch.
Yeah, context you can call when the counterpart is not available or reachable, but message you can't.
Come on. Just kill these real quick. All right. App is not open. Okay, right now we're sending messages, right? So the theory is when I hit this button, we should see the app launch on the phone.
Send message might just error out. If it's not
Oh, actually, hold on. That's interesting. The app did not launch, but the app did reply. Right here.
Is the app in the background?
Yeah, it's got it in the background then.
Can we double tap home button here?
Shift Command H twice.
Ooh, now what's gonna happen?
Still received it.
Did it open it up in the background?
Yeah, let's see. Nope.
That's
I wonder, do you think that has anything to do with the simulator and the way it works, would it work any differently on the actual phone? I think.
I don't think so.
I don't think.
Yeah, I think that if the app is closed, your app must still be able to. Yeah, I mean, at some level, this app.
Still running.
It'd be nice if you can receive like notifications.
Yeah, it just closed on its own.
Okay. Wow, that's.
Okay. Well, so there. Oh, hold on. I need to flip flop this now because I want to see it over on this side. So let's pretend like that's not a big deal right now. We can, because I want to test the context. At the very least, right now, we should say that it's at least plausible that it'll act differently on the actual device than the other one. Doesn't really matter what we just saw. Now we're interested to see what order these things happen in. Receive message with reply handler. But the other guy did not get called? I thought we had previously seen that both get called. Session.send message.
Isn't an update application context the one you counted out?
Yeah, but that's not for receiving a message. That's for the context. What I'm testing right now is that we wrote both of these functions. The one did receive message with reply, and the one did receive message without the reply. So having said that, then, let me just...
Well, if you're are you passing in a reply handler to it?
That's the only way to pass it.
So,
The only way to call it is with a reply handler. So let's test this. So now let's not change the way we're passing it, but let's change the only give them one possible place. I thought they both got called, so let's only write one of them. Launch this. Okay, there's our did receive message. So when there's only one of them there, it calls that one. If both of them are there, the reply handler one seems to take precedence.
Does it have anything to do with if the other one's on?
Yeah, well, oh, you mean if they're in a different order inside this file? We'll test it. I wouldn't think so, but it would only take a second to test it. I think what maybe you're about to suggest is, what if we don't try to use the reply handler?
yeah.
Will he intelligently figure out who we mean? Let's see. Ruh-roh. I broke the toy. Okay, so this guy got the with reply handler. All right, so now Abe wants us to put these guys just in a different textual order.
I couldn't imagine.
Nah, I don't think this will make a difference.
I'd be really amazed if it did.
Let's launch this again.
Are you passing him on one?
I might not be. Let's look here. I'm passing it. Yeah, the first time it should be a blah one. It's possible we disconnected that label. Do we no longer have the label in here? Well, immaterial. It did not make a difference in terms of the order in which it received it. The reply handler, if the reply handler's there, he gets it.
If you click on the messages in the bottom, yeah, you expand that. Block 3.
Oh, it's because we haven't restarted the, we've been clicking that multiple times on the watch.
Yeah.
The watch app was still alive. So the first time we clicked it was blah 1, the second time we clicked it was blah 2, blah 3, so on, but the phone was always expecting a blah 1. And we were trying to set the text of our label to a nil, which it didn't like. That's why it actually crashed. All right, so now we need to go and update the phone side of things. I'm sorry, the watch side of things. So now we're going to just not do anything with the reply. So the theory is if we don't do anything with the reply, that maybe it'll call the guy that doesn't expect a reply. Okay, so let's kill that. Let's go back over to the phone. Then we'll launch the app right here.
Rather than the reply handler being the reply of a dick, can you just make it nil?
Possibly. Come on. Or did it just die? Let's reboot it real quick. All right, so the suspicion is it will likely still call the one with reply. So as far as it goes right now, the rule appears to be that if we write a did receive message with reply handler on the phone, then it will receive that, it will call that one. If we only write the did receive message, it'll call that one. So if they're both there, it calls the with reply. If only one of them's there, it calls that one. All right, so now we need to manually launch it. There's this guy, call this, receive message with reply handler. Okay, so even though we're not doing anything with that reply right here, it always calls the did receive with reply handler if it's available. All right, so now last thing to test is the context.
This specific method is called when the counterpart specifies nil for the reply handler.
The counterpart
So
specifies.
if you're sending the message with reply handler as nil, then it should call the other one.
Okay, let's test it real quick. So for reply handler, instead of all this crap,
All everything after the
Yep.
semicolon?
Set the no.
Keep going.
Well, actually, hold on. Let's go this route.
Yeah. Or just reply handler. No.
Yeah, I think we need to give it the reply. Oh, it still needs an error handler
Yeah.
in case something bad happened. Okay, so I can choose not to have a reply handler. So if I do that, it should call the one that doesn't expect a reply handler. So we can control it from the message side of things, seemingly. But the difference would be that, here, let's run this on the watch real quick. The follow-up question to that would be if we don't write a did receive with reply handler, or if we only write the did receive with reply handler, and we didn't write the one that doesn't have the reply handler, and we give it a nil here, will it still work? All right, so we did that on purpose. So let's close that now. Launch the phone. Right now they both exist on the phone, but we expect that it's only going to call the message one because we've set it as nil for the reply handler. All right. So let's launch the phone or the watch. It definitely doesn't like us.
Restarting it. 10 seconds.
Well, it doesn't like us manually starting it on the watch, it seems.
Just like, let me do it.
It'd be nice if we can get Xcode to just plug into both targets so we can see both. All right, so we do that. Did receive. Oh, I had commented out the context, so that's why it looks like that. So this was expected. Yep, did receive message. So with it being nil, it called this guy. So now, last test for this version of it is this. Then on the phone, let's go ahead and get rid of the one that doesn't expect a reply handler, but still try to call it with a nil. The only handler we've given them is did receive message, this guy right here, that potentially has a reply handler, but we're not giving it a reply handler to call. So let's see what this does. Just for the sake of argument right now, I'm going to comment that out just in case it screams at me, because I'll try to call a function that's a nil value. We just want to know if it'll default to this one in that world. So I should be able to restart this. This will set the label to break again, but did receive context. Yep, did not call it. So if we sent this guy, if we set the reply handler as nil, and this is all we wrote is the did receive with reply handler, it will not call it.
Well, if you change the reply handler to a different type of dictionary, would it still call it? Like if you change it to a integer any object, would that message get called, or could you overload it and have one for an int any object, one for a string any object?
I don't think this will work. I don't think you can make this guy an int. I think that breaks
So if you, no. Oh.
Yeah, it's that handler is specifically set up to be a string. Okay, so next class we'll finish testing the context, and then we're going to have our next homework assignment. If you wanted to start working on it now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have the watch communicating with the phone, And initially, every single time we make a roll, we want to store that in the defaults on the phone. But initially, let's just get it passed to the phone. So the phone, every single time we do a roll on the watch then passes to the phone. Here are the details of the roll I just did. And the phone should be able to spit it out to the screen. And then we'll start filling in an interface on the phone. Okay, so we're going to, instead of just passing these individual strings, we're going to be passing more complex data between the watch and the phone. All right, I'll see everybody on Wednesday.